everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Anderson. I am a freelance artist and teacher hoping to inspire creativity. If you would like more videos like these, please take a second to like and subscribe down below. It really helps in the algorithm of YouTube to help get my videos seen to more people. If you want to receive notifications of when I go live, please make sure to hit the bell and choose all notifications. If you have any questions during or after the class, make sure to pop a comment down below and I will answer it as soon as I can. I'll be leaving timestamps down below so you can skip ahead to the start of class, but I will be sharing announcements as well as supplies, so make sure to stick around for that. If interested in learning more about my classes, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and feel free to check me out on Patreon where I teach exclusive classes to those who support me. In Patreon, I also give traceables for all of my live classes, including this one. Lastly, if you would like to share your work after class with me and others who painted along with us, please head over to Facebook as I have an artist community where you can share your finished painting with us. I'll leave links for all of that in the description box below. Thanks for joining me, and let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to another live class. Today is International Women's Day, so we are doing this little tribute to that. We are doing a sort of little abstract realism in the colors, but I'm excited for this one. It's as somebody mentioned before, it is a little bit different than some of the stuff I normally do. Typically it's pretty just like realism is pretty much just what I do right now, but I am definitely open for new techniques and new styles. So if you have any styles or techniques that you want me to do in my classes, maybe you're struggling with something or you want to have fun and try something new, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you want to do something different than stuff that I normally do. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over supplies and we will jump right into class. Okay, so in my Patreon, I do have a traceable for anyone who doesn't want to worry about proportions or drawing it or whatever. I have this available to all patrons in any tier that you want to be in. It is available to you. I also have all of my other live class traceables in those tiers as well. So if you join for this month, you'll also have access to every other traceable I've ever done. So that's a really cool perk. So it's $5 for the lowest tier, which is essentially just like a tip. It helps fund the free tutorials. You don't need a traceable to do this class. Feel free to draw it yourself. That's totally fine. I typically, my philosophy on traceables is that if you want to use it, great. If not, that's fine too. Because different people have different skill sets, and just if you're not good at drawing, it doesn't mean that you're not good at painting. And if you're not good at painting, it doesn't mean you're not good at drawing. It's a different skill set, and it's not cheating to use one, but if you don't want to use one, then that's also fine. So again, you don't need it, but it is available for those who want it in my Patreon, and I have links down below. I have links in the live chat. I'll probably put a link above after this video is done, so feel free to grab that if you want, and it'll be available for as long as we exist on the earth. So if you're watching this class and it's like, I don't know, years past when we do it live, it'll still be available. Okay, let's see. So there's my traceable, and then we have right now I'm using an 11 by 14 canvas. This is my go-to size. I feel like it's like big enough to like be a wow factor on like a wall. It's not gonna just like be enveloped by the wall, but I feel like it's not so big that it takes up like too much space. I feel like it's a good size. Let me know in the comments what your favorite size is to paint on, because I'm kind of curious. I tend to go to the 11 by 14, and my favorite is the stretched canvas instead of the panels, because then I can just hang it right on the wall. I like to paint the edges, wrap the canvas, and just put it right on the wall. That's my go-to. But let me know what your go-to is. So we have that, and then I'm using all Hippie Crafter acrylics. Don't mind the bottles. They are not soft body acrylics, which is like your craft paint. They are full body acrylics. They just come in these convenient little tubes. or like bottles. And the colors that I will be using today, you kind of got like your full range of colors today. Just grab all the colors. But the main colors I'm going to be using are my black and my white, of course. I have my yellow, orange, and red. If you don't have orange, just you're going to be mixing your red and your yellow together. There are a lot of orange tones in this, so I do recommend having it on hand if you have it. But if not, then you can just make it with your yellow and red. I have a green for the eyes and some of the accents in there, but if you want to use, you can make the eye color whatever color you want. I think the green stood out a little bit more than maybe some of the other colors. If you did like blue eyes, it would blend into the background if you did that. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do. And then I have an ultramarine blue and a brown to tint some colors. If you don't have a brown, you can make that with your primary colors, your blue, your yellow, and your red. Other colors that you might want to have on hand are your colors that are harder to create with your basic colors. So that's going to be this like teal blue, and I'll need to fix my coloring a bit because this is a lot brighter than what it's viewing. So it's just a bright teal blue. This is a brand that's probably no longer available. This is the Aaron Brothers. I've had this since Aaron Brothers, so I've had it for a few years. This is a bright aqua green. So it doesn't have to be that brown, obviously. It can be whatever color. I have that bright color. You can make this with like your greens and blues and white. I just find it a lot harder to get the exact color, so I like using it from the bottle. And then I do have a rogue or like magenta color. This is like one of my favorite pinks that I use. So I have those, and those are just more like accent colors. But we're gonna be playing a lot with color today, and you really do have some freedom in what colors you use. So the base of this is like orange and like, you know, orange, yellow, and red, like those colors for the skin tone. But if you wanted to do different colors, like use whatever colors you want. I would say just in terms of contrast, make sure that the background is darker and her hair is darker, that it frames her light face. And that's pretty much it. Obviously you have like the dark eyes, the nose, and darker lips, but everything else is kind of just like up for interpretation. It's kind of just like whatever you want. Let me go ahead and read the comments before I move on. I actually joined your Patron last year to get the drawings. Yeah, now I can draw sometimes, go over what someone else has done. It's a great teaching method. I learned a lot. Yeah, traceables are really fun because it can help you learn how to draw. Like it can help you with like seeing things different, which is really cool. So if you're someone who like knows how to draw people, then you could whip this out in like 5 minutes. But for those of you who don't, like if you draw enough, or even if you trace enough, that's how I learned how to draw when I was a kid in high school, is I traced over people and faces like multiple times. And after doing that enough times, you kind of just get a feel for where the eyes go, how far it is from the mouth and the nose and the ears and the chin, and it just all like comes to you. So even tracing, you'll get better at drawing the more you do it. So yeah, that's a great note. Okay. In terms of brushes, now I don't have specific brushes that I'm gonna use today. I'm just gonna kind of figure it out as I go. I will say I will be using my large filbert for a lot of it, just because I am on a slightly larger canvas than what you might be on. I know a lot of my students do 8x10 or 9x12. So I'll be using a larger brush. If you're using a smaller canvas, you can use a smaller brush, that's fine. Or you can use a larger one and it'll kind of go faster. The texture on my reference photo, I did this on my iPad and I couldn't really get the texture like I wanted it to, so I just kind of did what I wanted. In here, on canvas, I'll probably have less texture and less blending. I kind of wanted to do more of like a, not true abstract, but just less like graphite textured is kind of how my reference is. So again, it's kind of choose your own adventure. This one's gonna be fun, and there's like no rules essentially. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I forgot to draw in the rest of her eyebrow. So if you haven't drawn in, it will be helpful to pre-draw this. So if you haven't drawn that in, go ahead and do that now. And we will get started. While you're doing that, I'm gonna go over just some quick announcements and kind of what's going on in the Samantha Anderson artist world. Last week, first, our giveaway did end at the beginning of March, and Suzanne won. So congratulations to Suzanne. They will be, I still have to give them their address, and then they'll be sending you the canvases from our giveaway. So congratulations on that. And yeah, if you are not on my Facebook page, that is where I send out like probably 95% of literally everything. So make sure to go on my Facebook page and follow me there, because that is where I'm like almost every day I post something there, and sometimes multiple days. So here's the link to that. I'll also put it up above for later. And then for my YouTube, I do have a goal of getting at least 10,000 by the end of this year. So I'm hoping to get there. We're at a little over 7,000. So I'm hoping to get a couple more thousand. So if you like my content and you've been following me for a while, please share it. If you're new, welcome. Follow me for more content, and it's all helpful. Last week, we did this beautiful flower. The more I look at it, the more I fall in love with it. I have a Patreon creator that I follow who loves lilac, like the color lilac, and I'm like really tempted to send this to her because I know that she'd love it. But it's like becoming one of my favorites, like the more I look at it. So if you want to paint this, you can. It is a free class. It's what we did last week. Go paint it, because it was a lot of fun, and I feel like it was pretty easy, especially if you have the sponge daubers. It's really fast to paint. Other little announcements. The next two classes are in my Patreon. So there's three main different tiers. It's lilac, magenta, and cobalt. The lilac tier is mostly just traceables and some other content. The magenta tier is where you get all of the tutorials. So we now have, after this class, it'll be 51 classes in my Patreon. So if you join at the $10 tier, you'll get access to all 51 tutorials and all the other content that is available to that tier. So this is what we are painting this month. This will be available on Friday, so in a couple days. This is what we painted, or what we will paint, and I'm uploading that tonight, and it'll be available on Friday. I'm really excited about it, and you'll get to paint with me through my thoughts on skin color and how to try to get like skin color, which is sometimes really hard. You'll notice even in the class, if you end up joining and painting with me, that I even struggled on this leg a little bit. I painted it one color and I was like, that is incorrect. I will come back to it. And then through it, we kind of fix it, and as we go. It's all a learning process. So if you want to get better at skin color, that is a great class to do, because I do go over the different colors that I use. And then lastly, again, if you're not on my Facebook, please go over there and follow me. In my cobalt class, we are doing this lovely snow leopard. So this one was really fun. We did all of this in an hour. This only took an hour to do. Obviously, this is just the first session. For the cobalt tier, the $20 tier, I take you week by week, and we work on a painting more in depth every week until it's finished. So this was after the first session. We still have a lot to do, but I'm really excited with the progress that we did. So if you want to paint that with me, you can go on my Patreon and join, do the first one, and then you can catch up. All of the classes are recorded and stay there, so if you miss a live or whatever the case, everything is available afterwards. Okay, so hopefully everyone has drawn on what they need to draw. If anyone has any questions, please make sure, just drop a comment, let me know, and I will get back to you as soon as possible, okay? Let's get painting. Okay, so the first thing we are doing in this class is we are gonna go over some of the main features with either you can do this with a liner brush, or if you have like a paint marker pen, you can do that. I have these that I like to use. For this part, you'll only need to do the main like outline of her. I'm gonna go ahead and do it in a lighter color, so I'm actually going to do this in actual colors rather than the liner. But if you want to go ahead and do it in the liner, you can. I'm just gonna kind of go for it, okay? Let's see, because these two are so dark, even if I went over it with black, you might not see it, so it's kind of up to you. The first thing I'm going to do is color all of the black parts. Now this is really helpful. You'll see in the class we did in my Patreon, the first thing I did was went over all of the very black, darkest parts in black, the things that are the darkest and are black. I went over all of that first, so then when we went around, we did the background, we did all the washes of the different colors. It didn't really affect where the black was. And if I would have done that before doing the black, I would have lost where all the spots were, where the eyes are, where the mouth is. I would have lost those things. So right now we're gonna go over, and I'm just gonna use a normal round brush. I'm gonna get out some black, wet my brush, grab a little bit of water, and mix it in with a tiny bit of paint. And I'm going to go over the parts of the canvas that are indeed very, very dark or black. I'm going to start at the top, and there is very much a darkness to her hair. And once this is dry, like we'll be able to go over this with other colors. But for right now, and if you want to use a bigger brush, you can. It's up to you. I'll probably be going a little bit back and forth with the different brushes. Okay, so that gives me a nice clean line to figure out where like her neck is and everything. And again, I'm just putting in the darkest parts. And if it ends up coming out a little bit gray, that's fine. We're just kind of brushing in the details that we didn't draw in, right? And throughout this class, if you've never done abstract, you're probably going to be challenged a lot, because abstract is a very different way of thinking about painting, and for some people it can be hard. So now we're going to go into the the eyes. I'm going to focus on the eye, like the eyeliner, making it thicker in the middle and thinner as it goes out. Putting a little bit of a, whatever this thing is called in the very middle of your eye, or like the inner corner. Yes, all my videos on YouTube and in Patreon stay in YouTube and Patreon. I don't take my videos down. So yes, they will always be available. Go ahead and put in the iris. And putting in the iris now will help later when we're doing the actual eye, and we won't have to worry about re-putting in, we won't have to worry about like figuring out where the iris goes, because we'll be able to see it through all of our colors. All right, I'm gonna do some dark in here. And then I'm gonna do a little bit of dark in her lips. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do the, while that all dries, I'm gonna do the background first. So I'm gonna get out my blues and black. I already have black out, so I just got to get my blue out. And I'm also gonna get out a touch of white. So using my different colors, I'm just gonna go straight in to my blue. And the first thing I'm gonna do is just a light wash, because ultramarine blue tends to be a little bit translucent in its coloring. So we're gonna do a first coat of blue, and then we'll come back and put on some texture. And I am being careful to go right up to that line. And the reason for that is because all of the colors that we're doing on her face is really, really light. So I want to make sure that I don't go over that line. So take your time in this part. And if you ever get to a place where you went over a line and you that you didn't mean to, and you want to change it, and the paint that you're working with is still wet, just get a clean brush, get it wet, wipe it off, and then go over the area that you want to take the paint off, and you can literally just wipe it away. It's a pretty cool technique. I'm just going to paint the sides here real quick, and can't forget the bottom. Alright, so there's that. I'm going to go ahead and do a light coat over here as well. And I'm just going to go right over that black. It's almost like a wash. And I'm just using the same blue, so just the Ultramarine Blue. And her hair will end up having a slight purpley tone. At least I'm going to do that in mine. You don't have to, but I'll be doing that a little bit later. And with all of my strokes, specifically with her hair, I am trying to make it all go in like the motion of her hair. So after I get the paint on there, I might be going in a certain direction. I'm gonna make sure to finish it going up and down, because that's the flow of her hair. And of course, the bottom. Great. So here's a great example. I went over here and I went a little bit too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my brush, clean water, dab it off, and I'm just going to here grab some water and just reactivate that paint and wipe it off. Hope that's helpful. All right, so now that we have a base coat of that, I'm still waiting for this to dry. It's not quite dry, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the base coat of her, which is a yellow. Now, because we did this in our black, we can go straight over it. We don't need to go around it. Like you can if you want to. But we can just go straight over it if we want to, and it won't really affect anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and rinse out my brush, get all that blue out. And I'm gonna get out my yellow. Now you want kind of like a warm hue yellow, so I have medium yellow. I need to get out my other yellow here. All right. Got some medium yellow, and I'm going to tint this just ever so slightly with some orange. So I'm just going to take my palette knife that I use in almost all of my classes. If you don't have a palette knife and you have a flat palette, highly recommended. I'm just going to grab some of this orange, mix it in with my yellow, and it's just going to create a nice warm tone yellow. Almost like a, it's like not quite yellow orange, but it's close. Okay, and this is essentially the mid-tone that we have between the orange and red and then the bright yellow and the white. So it's kind of like the mid-tone. And also remember that this is going to be mainly like a dark wash. So it is going to be lightened up a little bit. So when I say dark wash, you have a wash which is fairly thin. It's usually fairly thin, and it's got a lot of water mixed in. A dark wash, I typically will use less water, so the color is a little bit more saturated. It's a little bit darker. Kim asks, I would love to do this with curly hair. Any suggestions on how to do that? Look at other paintings with curly hair. It's all about the highlights and shadows and the contrasts between each curl. I would definitely look up other paintings with curly hair, and that will definitely give you a better idea of where to put those highlights. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and take this, put some water, mix some water in here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and wash over this whole thing. So it's not quite a wash, but it is a lot more liquidy than I would typically have my paint. And this makes it a really, really fast process to just get color on your canvas. You're not worried about don't worry about trying to do highlights or lowlights at this point. You're just trying to get that base color on your canvas. And you can move around any color. Any too much color, you can just wipe it off with your finger. Doing a wash is really helpful because every layer that you paint on the canvas makes it easier to paint on the canvas. And what I mean by that is every layer that you put on the canvas with your paint, it fills up the texture of the canvas, and it creates an easier like it just creates it's easier to blend, and then you're also not working with a white background, like a white canvas. So I'm gonna go ahead and go around the eyes. The eyes are pretty big, and it's pretty easy to go around them. Alright, so I did go around the eyes and the mouth. I just felt that this is a big enough painting that the eyes and the mouth are fairly big. So it was easy enough for me just to go around them, even with a big brush like this. Alright. All right, let's go ahead and make a red, and we can do a base coat of the red. And the base coat of this is going to be kind of that medium tone. So you're going to get out your red and your brown, because we're kind of going to make like a slight maroon color. And maroon is essentially a dark reddish brown. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this brown, and I'm actually also going to mix a tiny bit of blue in it. Just to bring out some of those like reddish purpley tones rather than just the brown. I think that's probably good. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, so my medium to smaller filbert. And I'm just going to fill in this area. there is that. Let's go ahead and finish our background, and then we can just kind of dive in with our colors. And I'm excited. Okay, I'm gonna get out a little bit more blue, and we're just gonna dive in with this blue color again. And we're gonna kind of make dark places, like some of it darker in other places. And because it's kind of supposed to be textured, I'm not trying to get an even coat of this, and I'm leaving my marks in certain places. And I can maybe even come in with, I'm gonna mix my white in with a little bit of my blue, and I'm just gonna I'm going to kind of just tap, give some texture, all the places that I kind of like didn't go over. I'm gonna do a little bit darker near the face. And you can do darker either by adding some black, like a tiny bit of black to your blue, or just by layering on the blue. That will inherently darken different areas of your blue background. And I'm being rather generous with the amount of paint that I'm putting on and just kind of laying it on thick. And making sure that the sides have the same type of texture, just so it's all coherent. All right, well, that's pretty close. I like the background. And now I'm gonna do some more blacks over here with the hair. There we go. My brain. It does work, I promise. I'm kind of going in there with my blue at the same time so it can all blend together. Happy International Women's Day. Yes, thank you. I'm going to focus on mostly black down here because it is supposed to be fairly dark. And you don't have to make it this dark. I just find that having that dark contrast, it is in the what would be the shade, I think, or in a shadow, and so it would be this dark. And we will be able to kind of layer on other colors once this dries a little later. Okay, so don't worry if you accidentally got it too dark, but it will. We can always add color to it later after it dries. All right, so there's that. So looking good. Now what we're going to do is we are going to put together a few different colors of our like main colors, mix those all together, and then we'll have a bunch of colors to pull from as we're just laying on the color, okay? Something I am going to do real quick is get my brown. And I'm going to lighten it up with my red and my yellow. So it's more of like maybe like a burnt umber rather than a raw umber. And I'm just going to put in the brown eyebrow. And that's mainly so that when we are doing our other colors, it's not going to get lost. And you can make, if you're doing a self-portrait or if you're doing a portrait of a friend, obviously you can make them whatever color you need to or whatever shape you need to. I'm just going to kind of delete that part of it because it kind of makes her look mad a little bit. So this will make it so that we don't have to worry about figuring out where our eyebrow is later. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and make our different colors. I'm just going to get out a bunch of different colors, and we're just kind of gonna go from there. Let's see. The main colors I see are going to be this kind of maroon red in here, this area, kind of a brownish red color. There's some brighter oranges, there's the yellow, the white, and then you've got like a pinkish purple for eyeshadow, a pink accents throughout it all, and then you have a bright teal color. So let's figure out, I don't really need this medium color anymore because we're going to cover most of that up. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my yellow, more yellow down near that. I think that's fine. I have my orange out. I'm going to get out some red so I can mix some more of that kind of darker maroon color. I'm going to get out my pinkish purpley color. I have a pink, and I'm going to mix it with some blue to create a light purple. So we have a little bit of pink, some white, and then blue, and all of that mixed together equals this pretty purple. Again, that's just the pink, blue, and white. Now this is kind of a darker version of what I would like, so I'm going to add some more white to it. Okay, so I have a nice purple. It's kind of hard to see on the gray palette. Rarely I will come across either a color or I'll make gray, and I have a hard time seeing it on the palette. I used to use a there's a white tile that's underneath here, and I used to use that for my my palette, but it was almost every class I would stick my hand in the white because it was a white tile. I stick my hand in the white every single time, and I'm just like, this needs to stop. I need to get a palette that is not white. So this one's really easy to clean, so I enjoy it. Okay, so we have our yellow, orange, and red. I'm gonna go ahead and mix a little bit more of this kind of maroon color. So a little bit of that brown. And I don't want to go too dark because I can always just add brown to the canvas and black to the canvas. So I think that's probably a good color. So we have our red, and then we have, I'm gonna get out some more white, and that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and just go for it. I'm gonna start with the brightest of whites, just so we can figure out where our highlights are. And this is gonna be fun, kind of like you can almost do a dry brush effect. And there's kind of like a highlight on the chin. We'll probably cover some of this up, but it's nice to just know like kind of like where everything is. There's a highlight up here. Go into your yellow if you need to. the point of this is not necessarily, like, we don't necessarily want to blend. Like, you can if you want to, but a lot of what I'm doing is either dry brushing or I'm just going to be laying on the paint. Okay, we got a little bit of a reddish orange in this. And I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush. Okay, I'm gonna go into my brown and I'm gonna start doing all the darks. So if you want to add some water to your paint, that's totally fine. I'm gonna do a little bit more of like a wash in this area because there are a lot of dark colors, but I am going to be paying attention to like the shape of her face. So there's some dark colors down here in those reds and browns and blacks. Do this real fast. And then it kind of slowly goes into more of a red color. And then it goes into like a bright orange. I'm gonna rub my brush off so I can go into my yellow. Goes into a yellow. And that just kind of blended nicely, so I'm not really gonna touch that. And again, it doesn't have to blend, like doesn't need to blend, but my natural thing to do is to get things to blend. So whenever I'm doing this sort of stuff, I have to really try hard to not blend things. So it's really hard for me. So things like this is very much not a stretch, but it's like I feel like I grow a lot during these classes because they're hard for me. I'm not used to doing like more abstract sorts of things. So if you struggle with this type of artwork, know that you're not alone. Okay, so let's go back up here. I'm going to do a little bit of a wash. And the reason why I'm doing a wash here instead of just going in with that paint is because I have all these dark spots of like the ear that I didn't really go over with a darker color, and so I don't want to lose them. So you go into black, you can go into like your brown. I'm gonna go ahead and put in some darker areas with my little bit of my black, and I'm just gonna put it on like the little edges, like where my little lines are, to create depth in this part of it. And because I still have this coating that I just put on, it's going to allow me to like put it on and then blend it if I want to, which you don't have to. And I'm working on stopping blending. Just kind of let the color be. Alright, I'm gonna go into my kind of red and pink. Kind of gonna mix them together a little bit, I think. And I'm gonna put some pinkish color here. Alright, I'm going to move on. I think I'm going to do her eyeshadow. I think that's what I want to do. So I'm going to grab some of this purple. I think I might need to go a little bit lighter. But I think this is a fine start to it. Put some light color. I think it needs to be even more pink. I'm going to add some pink and some white. Alright, so I'm just making like a lighter, more pink version of this kind of lilac color. I go in with some orange. Mix in some yellow up here. And give some dimension to the nose. Put in some darker colors. Start putting in just some of the mid-tones a little bit. I'm gonna go over this part with like that red and brown again to darken it up. Gonna do some light colors down here. Maybe do a little bit more of a wash so it's even lighter. If you're ever struggling or you feel like you don't know what color to put down or where to start, just grab a color and put it down where you feel like it goes. Wherever the shadows are, wherever the highlights are, just start adding that color. In a painting like this, the more colors you get onto the canvas, the better it looks. Alright, I'm gonna do a little bit of work on the eyes, I think. So I'm going to go in with some white. I'm going to do one eye at a time, because then I'm going to go in with just a touch of black, and I'm going to get some, essentially mix it with the white, and it's going to create a gray. And you can create like a shadow with it. I'll grab some more white. Do the one that's over here. And again, put your white on and then grab a little tiny bit of black. Put in just a tiny bit of shadow. And I'm going to go ahead and create a green. So this green is pretty like yellowy green. But you can use whatever color you want. It doesn't have to be green. It can be blue. It could be brown. It could be blue. It could be violet sky. Anyone get that reference? I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head. So I'm gonna have my green, a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of brown to kind of create a hazel color. I think that's fine. And I'm going to start off by just lightly coating we have that. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other one as well. Might as well do them at the same time. And if you decide to put your hand, rest your hand on your painting, just make sure that it's dry before you do that. Alright, so now that we have that coat, the first thing we're going to do is put some black in the green and maybe a little bit of brown. To darken up the colors. And in the same way we darkened the white, we're going to darken the top portion as well as around like the iris, like the outer edge. So I'm going to take this color and I'm just going to also give a little bit of, let's see, I'm gonna go closer. See if that's helpful. I'm kind of gonna put some on the inner edge of it as well as the outer edge. And then I can come back with some white maybe a touch of green. I'm going to take a little bit of black and just give a little bit more darkness to the top edge of it. And then I'm also going to redo the iris because at this point you've gone over the iris with whatever color you're using. So with our black, we're going to do a few different things. We're going to first go over the iris. And while that's drying, we're going to go around the very, very, very edge of the color, the eye. And this is also the time that you're going to add the details within the eye. So you're going to add your darkness going around. So I'm going to go around the edges one more time. And we're going to add a tiny bit of pink in here, so don't cover up the whole thing. And then we're going to add a little bit of a crease right here. An eyelid that we will later add some blue eyeshadow as well. All right. I'm going to add some pink. I also have this super bright pink that I enjoy using. It's like a neon pink. So I think I'll use some of that and see. How I like it. I'm just gonna add some pink over here just so that this pink doesn't have such a harsh line. And we're just gonna keep going. I'm gonna go ahead and use a little bit of this reddish color to just add a slight hue of pink to the inner corners of the eye. And if you end up covering up all the white, you can always come back and add more white, which I'm going to do right now because I'm also going to put in the little reflections. So I'm doing one big dot and then a tiny little dot right next to it. Right now I'm just adjusting her eyes so that I can get the shape that I want. They kind of looked sad because they were kind of shaped down, so I'm just kind of expanding them and making them look a little bit more round rather than like sad, I guess. And that looks better than what it was. I think I also, if I can expand, if I can come down here. That will make it not look as sad. And then I can just come over here with my black and go around that. The eyes are probably the most important thing in that, like, that's the focal point of the whole thing. So if you need to adjust the eyes, like, now's the time to do that, because the rest of it's just kind of the rest of it will come together. that looks good. Now we can just continue adding color. I'm going to add some pink down here. I'm going to go in with a smaller brush to add some red in here and then some other pink tones. Going in with more black, because without that contrast it's really hard to have that depth, and by creating that contrast with your black, you'll have something to highlight and pop. So now that I've kind of darkened my ear a little bit, now I can come back with my pops of pink. And I'm sort of just letting the strokes kind of come. I'm not placing them anywhere specific other than maybe places that I want to highlight. We'll put some purple down here. Alright, so we have a bit of red below the left eye, her left eye. Looking at it, it's the right eye. And there's kind of some darkness over here. I'm just going to I'm not necessarily blending it, but working with a dry brush is fun because it's just like naturally blending in a way. Okay, I'm gonna take some of this red. Maybe I'll take some orange and add some streaks. Alright, so I'm going to go back over with some of this yellow in like this area. going to get some white, and I'm going to blend in just a little bit some of this white so I can get just a bit of a brighterness to the parts over here. You can always come back in with some white once it dries. All right, we're looking good. I'm going to put a little bit of some darkness in some areas. Maybe with some of this red. Maybe some dark pinkish. And there's some like orange at the tops of her lip. I'm going to put some white and yellow up here to really highlight. And you can always come back later and highlight. Oops. So if that ever happens, you're like, no, what have I done? Grab a clean brush, get it wet, and just kind of activate that paint and just wipe it off. Brand new. Never happened. Okay, I'm gonna get out some more red because I've run out of red, and the colors that I have are not cutting it. I've actually really enjoyed mixing this dark pink with the red. All right, I'm just lightly brushing this on and then kind of just moving it around. And there's some dark colors underneath their eye. There's some dark colors into the top of her eye. right, I'm gonna come in with some bolder white parts and just do a couple one strokes where you put it on there and then you kind of just like leave it alone. Like, don't blend it, just put it on and just do it. Be bold. It's hard, it's really hard. I'm gonna do the same thing up here. Come in with my white. Oh, there was red on me. That's fine. We'll just blend it in. All right. What else? I think I'm going to take this bright pink and brighten that up. Let's go ahead and do the lips. I'm using a combination of my dark pink and red. Then I'm going to come in with my black. And you can kind of just blend that in while it's still wet. And if you did too much of one color, you can always come back and add that color later. There is a little bit of a darker edge underneath it. I'm gonna put some some more red, maybe a bit lighter parts. All right, so I'm gonna wait till that dries, and then we can come back in with some highlights. For now, I kind of want to start. I'm gonna use a palette knife for this. If you don't have a palette knife, just keep doing what you're doing. And I'm going to get out my teal blue color. And I'm going to whiten it just ever so slightly. And maybe I'll add just like the tiniest bit of blue because it's a little bit on the green side. But I'm just gonna I'm gonna lighten it even more. I'm gonna put the same color on her eyelashes, or on her, like, to give that blue effect. I'm gonna add some down here. I'm gonna add some over here. And you can add in whatever, however you want it. Remember, if you do something that you don't necessarily like, just wait for it to dry and you can come back over it with other colors. Like, you don't have to keep everything that you're doing. At this point, I just need to be bold, and it's really hard to be bold when you're doing something that you are not comfortable with. I'm gonna do a bit more texturing, so I'm just gonna get a little bit of, just a tiny bit of paint on my paintbrush, and I'm just gonna use the side of it to give texture. And I'm just using a pink to do this because it's pretty much different than all the other colors. And I'm gonna actually do this with white too. I'm gonna add white to both the nostril and the tip of the nose. So I'm just adding things here and there. right, I'm gonna add a couple more details like the highlights in her lips. And I'm just going to be pulling from the bottom up. All right, so there's the lips, and we still have the eyelashes to do. All right, so the eyelashes, I'm gonna go ahead and switch to a liner brush because it is just easier to get a good straight or thin line. So I'm going to, whenever I have a round brush, I make sure to roll my brush as I pull up. I'm also going to do them down. Remember that eyelashes, when they're looking at you, remember that the ones on the sides are going to be going out, and the ones that are like straight on are going to be going directly towards you. So they can be shorter. And a lot of eyelashes end up crossing each other. So make sure that they kind of cross each other, and it's not all going one direction. That they're kind of, there's like most of the time that's like a bunch of V's. And then we're also going to, might as well use this brush as well to get in some black here. I should say some more black because our black got covered up. And then I'm going to use a little bit of pink around the edge. Use this opportunity to add some more some comments. You have patience. Your How to Paint Valentine Bunny DIY card is adorable. Thank you. Yeah, that was a fun one. Alright, so now for the ones for the eyelashes that kind of go off the page a little bit, these ones right here, I'm going to come back with a lighter color and put in a couple with some white. And this is just, I'm also going to do a little bit over here, but not as much. And this is just to show that the light can be hitting it, and that way you can see it a little bit better. And there you go. All right. That is pretty much it. That is going to be the end of our class. Just going to add a couple more pink things. I am going to add a little bit of dark over here. If you want to add any lighter colors in her hair, you could do that. I think I'm kind of good at this point. Maybe I'll add some pink streaks. You can kind of only really, you can't really see that on the screen. I kind of want to add some blue in like other places. All right, just gonna add a little bit more yellow here, and then I think I'm all done. All right, I think I'm done. Yeah, it's definitely a fun style, and it definitely challenges you. At least it challenges me to kind of let go a little bit and just kind of do it, which is really hard sometimes when you're so stuck in a certain style. So doing this was a lot of fun, and I do have if you like this style, I do have a elephant in this style on my Patreon, and then next month in my Patreon we are doing a lion in this style, so that will be a lot of fun if you really like animals. I'm kind of hoping to do like a endangered endangered species type of series with this, so in my Patreon. So that is what we were doing next. We did an elephant, and now we're doing a lion next month. So stay tuned for that. If you painted this one, I would love to see it. Being able to see your guys' paintings is kind of what keeps me going. It's a lot of fun to be able to, after a class, be able to see everybody who painted with you. So if you painted with me, even if it's like a year from now, go in my free Facebook group. I'll go ahead and post that link now. It is just a free group that you can post your work after class, whether it's Facebook class, whether it's a Zoom, whether it's a YouTube class or a Patreon class. I really love being able to share that all with you guys. So I just posted it in the live chat. It's also somewhere in the description as well. And also, if you just look up Samantha Anderson artist community, you'll probably just find it as well. Whoa! I didn't realize my white was open and I stuck my pinky in it and like it flung it on myself. I'm really glad I flung it on myself and not the floor. That's nice. As I drop it on the floor. Oh. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. Go post your work. I would love to see it, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.